Okay, good morning, everybody. We are now on the bottom of Mem Dalet Amud Bet, really on the top of Mem Hey Amud Aleph 45a. Yesterday, the Gemara concluded, the last daf concluded that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, which holds of Muktzeh and holds of the concept of Migud Iskatzoi, the Ben Hashmashot Itkatzoi L'Kul Yoma, which means since something became Muktzeh, Muktzeh again means set aside in his mind, and now it is prohibited to be moved on Shabbat during the Bein Hashmashot, since it was set aside for a prohibited usage, and that made it Muktzeh, prohibited to be touched and moved. So it remains prohibited throughout the whole Shabbat. And we said that there's a machloket Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. Generally, if there's Muktzeh, Rabbi Shimon has a very limited definition of when there is Muktzeh, and besides that, Rabbi Shimon doesn't agree with the concept with even things that are Muktzeh, that they will remain Muktzeh after their Muktzeh, after the reason that they became Muktzeh goes away. When that just fades away, then the prohibition also fades away, even though it was Muktzeh at the beginning of Shabbat. The Gemara concluded that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. And the Gemara now says, "Hachanami mistabra de Rabbi Yehuda tzvir the Amar Rav menichin ner al gabi dekel b'Shabbat ve'em menichin ner al gabi dekel b'Yom Tov." It is reasonable and proper to say that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, since we find that Rav said, we know that there's an Isur midrabanan not to use a tree on Shabbat or Yom Tov, for one may then come to pull off a branch. Included in this Isur is to put something on the branch or on the tree before Shabbat that is usable on Shabbat or Yom Tov. Because that way you'll be taking it off on Shabbat, putting it on, taking it off on Shabbat, and that way you might come to Chas v'Shalom, break off a branch. Therefore, the Chachamim said that's all part of the takana of being mishtamesh ba'ilan, of using a tree, and you're not allowed to put it on before Shabbat. So it says here, Rav said, okay, but you know what you could put on before Shabbat? On there, a lamp, and let it light there on Shabbat. You know why? Because you'll never take it off on Shabbat. It's not usable. We're not worried. Because the lamp, even after it goes out, and it's not a basis, a base for the flame, which is Muktzeh, remains Muktzeh. Who's that like? Rabbi Yehuda. So you see that Rav goes like Rabbi Yehuda. He says, on Yom Tov, you're not allowed to put it on before Yom Tov. Here comes out a stringency. Why? Because since on Yom Tov, a lamp is not Muktzeh, because you're allowed to use light. So therefore, the lamp was never a basis, a base for something that's Asur. So it was never Muktzeh, not Ben Hashmashot, not afterwards. Therefore, you might come to take off the lamp and move it somewhere else where you want to light a lamp on Yom Tov. Therefore, since you might come to use the item on the tree, you might come so therefore it's part of the Gzeirah. Therefore, you're not allowed to put it on Erev Yom Tov. Erev Shabbat, no problem, because you're not going to be able to move it on Shabbat. Why not? According to Rabbi Shimon, you could move it on Shabbat. Once the flame goes out, and you have oil there, you could move it. It's not Muktzeh. So you see the Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. If you say peacefully that Rav goes like Rabbi Yehuda, it makes sense. That's why there's a differentiation between Shabbat and Yom Tov. Shabbat, it's Muktzeh. Yom Tov, it's not. But if you say that we go like Rabbi Shimon, Mali Shabbat and Mali Yom Tov, Shabbat and Yom Tov both are mutar, used after it goes out. Okay, Yom Tov it's mutar before it goes out. Shabbat it will be mutar soon. So the point is, it's going to have a moment that you could move this lamp. That should make it prohibited to be put on before Shabbat, because you might get involved with the tree. So the Gemara says, okay, very good. So that's why another proof that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So now the Gemara challenges that and says, "Rav ke Rabbi Yehuda svirle." So what are you telling me? Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. They asked Rav. Again, Rav is the greatest Amora. Remember that. Okay, so much of Shas is based on Rav. Much of Shas, it could be traced back to Rav. I don't know what percent. I don't mean a majority. Maybe 50, maybe 40, maybe even 30. But even if it's 30%, right? If someone would tell me it's 60, 70, I wouldn't even be that surprised. But let's just say it's 30%, or even 25. That means a quarter of what we're saying is Rav, is traced back to Rav. So Rav Rabbi Yehuda, so the Gemara says Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. We learned about this before. Okay, so they had this nation that had a law that on the day of their holiday, nobody's allowed to light a ner, right? So we had that in regards to Shabbat. Okay, so what happens if it falls down on Chanukah? So what you do is, sometimes it was possible to light, and they didn't recognize by the chatzer of the bayit, there was some sort of possibility to light without them noticing. But you couldn't leave it there for a while after it went out, because then they might pass by later. You could light it for half an hour on Chanukah. It wasn't like Shabbat that it would stay lit. I guess that was the difference. And now, but you can't leave it there, because then they'll see that there was a lamp lit there. So usually what they did is, after they lit it, they brought it back in. Question is, on Shabbat. So the question is, can you move the ner of Chanukah because of these chabarei? They're called chavrim. That was the name of this nation. After it went out on Shabbat, could I move it? Why are you allowed to move it? Don't we say migud itkatzai le ben hashmachot itkatzai le kula yoma? Don't we say that if something is muktzah for Shabbat, for the beginning of Shabbat, it's muktzah for the all of Shabbat? It should be muktzah. So you see that Rav holds like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon doesn't have an issue with that. Aha. So the Gemara says, no, shatach adchak shani. This is a very pressing time, so the Chachamim were more lenient, which means even according to Rabbi Yehuda, Rav holds that over here it would be okay, because it was a shat hadchak. It was a pressing time. The Amr le Rav Kahana v'Rav Ashi the Rav hachi hilcheta, because Rav Kahana and Rav Ashi told the Rav. I don't know how it's possible that they told the Rav this. But anyway, they told Rav after it went out. Is this the halacha? Which means, don't you agree with Rabbi Yehuda that it should be muktzah to move? Amalu and Rav answered them, Kidaihu Rabbi Shimon lismoch alav b'shat hadchak. Rabbi Shimon is worthy enough to rely on him when it's a pressing need, which means that we're going to move, either we're going to be tortured or we're going to lose money. So now, it couldn't have been pikuach nefashot, because then of course he doesn't have to say that, pikuach nefashot, but they would suffer. They wouldn't die, but they would suffer on the hands. Then Reb Shimon, b'shat hadchak, we could rely on him. Now they already make a whole, the opposite, that kedai Reb Shimon lisvich alav b'shat hadchak also has a different connotation, that when it's pressing needs, you go to Reb Shimon intercedes on your behalf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, but over here what it means is, b'shat hadchak, we can rely on him, but we don't really go like him. Okay, fine. So now, the Gemara has a new shaila now. What did we say according to Rabbi Shimon? Anything that you could use on Shabbat, even if it wasn't prepared before Shabbat, but it's able to be used on Shabbat. For example, the two chalot, the two honeycombs that were left, that you never had plans, but you could eat them on Shabbat. They're fine on Shabbat. As long as on Shabbat you decide you want to eat. Nothing has to be prepared before Shabbat. As long as it has some usage here on Shabbat, it's fine. So, now we know that Reb Shimon has some sort of definition of muktzah. So the question is, at what point does it start? How bad does it have to get for Reb Shimon to join and say, okay, fine, this is muktzah? So that's the question. You take kernels of wheat, put them into the ground. Now, we're not talking about that they took root. Rashi says they didn't take root, because if they took root, they take them out of the ground. It's tolish, that's doraita. It's nothing to do with muktzah, that's detaching, it's isur doraita. We're not dealing with that. But we are dealing with muktzah. Now, what's so bad about kernels of wheat? You can eat kernels of wheat. They're food. But the pshat is like this, that I was doche them biyadayim. With my own hands, I pushed them away. I said, you see these? I'm not going to be having these on Shabbat, because I want these to grow. Or I took an egg and I put it under the chicken. So, whatever reason I wanted to get, whatever. The point is, I don't want to have it this Shabbat. So, it's called dichui biyadayim. With my own hands, I made it muktzah. I set it aside. I pushed it away. So will he agree there, Rabbi Shimon, that even though be'etzem, essentially, the item is ra'ui la'achila, even on Shabbat, it does have use. I intentionally pushed it away with my own hands, so maybe that's called muktzah. I was maktzah it midaiti. I set it aside from my dat. That is the question at hand here. So, ki let Rabbi Shimon muktzeh hech de lo dachya b'yadayim, aber hech de dachya b'yadayim itlei muktzeh odil meloshna. Well, maybe there's no difference. Even when I push it away, in the middle of Shabbat, I decide, you know what? I want to take those kernels. They're sitting right there in the hole. Let me take them out and eat them. So eat them. Maybe it's not muktzah at all, according to Rabbi Shimon, even when I'm doiche b'yadayim. That's Rabbi Shimon's shita. Amalei hat geempfert. In Yiddish, it means in English. He told him. Rabbi Yochanan answered the question, and he said, "In muktzah Rabbi Shimon, there is no muktzah for Rabbi Shimon. There is no muktzah elo only. Shemen shevenei b'shashu doilek hoyev huktzah l'mitzvasai huktzah l'yisurai." The only case is the oil while it's lit. Now, Tio, not the oil while it's lit. Take the oil out. That, forget about muktzah. You're not allowed to do that because you're extinguishing. That's doraita. So what does it mean? The oil while it's lit. The oil while it's lit is going to be an isur of extinguishing. Doraita. It means the oil that dripped out. The shemen shemitaftef min haner. So that now it's in some cup that you put there before Shabbat. Like the Mishnah said, you're allowed to put it there before Shabbat. And Rabbi Shimon Matim, and we had the brighter, you're allowed to use the oil, but that's only after it goes out. But Rabbi Shimon is moder that while it's lit, it's lit over here, but there's the oil that I caught in the cup. While it's lit, this oil, it's not going to extinguish anything. It's in a different cup now. Has nothing to do with the light. Is muktzeh. Why? So the simple pshat now in Rabbi Yochanan is, he's saying this is the only muktzeh is because there's two muktzahs going on. Huktzah l'mitzvasai, huktzah l'yisurai. At the time that it's huktzah l'mitzvasai, since there's two muktzahs going on, what meaning two was muktzah. Muktzah, there's two, good word for muktzah is designations. Two, I designated for a specific thing, for the mitzvah. Okay? And it was muktzah to the ister. Because it was a basis to the fire. You have those two muktzahs going on? All right. That's the muktzah that he's going to hold of. But pushing it away with your hands, at the time, enjoy it. Don't tell me about beitzas that you put under the chicken or chitim in the ground. That's perfectly fine. You decide you want to have them for breakfast, eat them. You can have your cereal, your wheat cereal, your eggs, no problem. Only at the time that it's being set aside to do a mitzvah, and it's a base for an isser, Those two things together, that muktzah, otherwise, no problem. So the Gemara says, 1 second. So you're telling me that if it's just huktzah l'mitzvasai, it's not a base for an isurei, it only has the first one of these two. Huktzah l'mitzvato, just that alone, no issue. He doesn't hold with the problem of Tanya. We learned in a Braita. We had this Braita before. If someone made a beautiful sukkah, kehalacha, v'itra, and then he beautified it, he crowned it, bikramim, with tapestries and curtains of sdinin hametziyarin, and with sheets that were beautiful drawings. Vitalaba egozin, he hung walnuts, afarsakin, apricots, shkedim, vrimonin, almonds, pomegranates, v'aparchele shel anovim, clusters of grapes, v'atarot shel shibolin, and crowns, little crowns that they made out of wheat stalks, yenot, little jars of wine, shmanim, and of oil, uslatot, and little jars of fine flour in glass little jars. Beautiful sukkah. You're not allowed to derive any benefit until the end of Shmini Atzeret. Okay? But if before the Chag he made a Tanai, he said, I don't want to designate them for the sukkah. I want to be able to enjoy them. Hakol lefi tana'o. Okay? Now, everything goes according to his condition. If he stipulated a condition, then he could. So, now, this Mishnah seemingly is going according to everyone, even according to Reb Shimon. It doesn't say that Reb Shimon argues. So, the Gemara thinks that it's even according to Reb Shimon. And what do you see here? That the Noya Sukkah, the beauties, the adornments of the sukkah are muktzeh, unless you made it tonight. Once they were designated for the mitzvah, so they become muktzeh, huktzeh l'mitzvato. So you see, there's a concept of huktzeh l'mitzvato even without any other muktzeh involved. So the Gemara says, "Umimai Reb Shimon." Who told you that that's Reb Shimon? The Tani Rab Chia by Yosef. You know how we know? Because Rabbi Chia bar Yosef taught that Braita in front of Rabbi Yochanan. This following one, Ein notlin etzim min hasukah b'yom tov, ela min samuch la. Okay? This doesn't mean a sukkah of Sukkot. This means a sukkah for shade. By Pesach, Shavuot, I have a little hut which I sit in. So if I have bundles of eitzim next to the sukkah, I can derive benefit from them. Because I put them there, but anything from the sukkah itself is going to be asur. Okay? So you can't take from the sukkah itself, the eitzim, because that would be soteh, that would be isur melacha d'oraita of. Okay? And even if it falls off the sukkah, it sounds like it's asur, because the only permitted wood that I can use is the wood that was put next to the sukkah as piles. That was not yet part of a structure, and so if there wasn't, but now, if it was part of the structure, so since I'm not allowed to take it apart because there's an Isur Doraita, so they become muktzeh for my dat. So then even if they fell off themselves, you can't use them. But if they're on the side of the sukkah bundles, then why not? You can use them on, right? So this is on Yom Tov. On Yom Tov, wood is not muktzeh, even according to Yehuda, because you can use it for firewood, for whatever you want, okay? Now, Rabotai, that is the shita of the Tanna Kamma. Rabbi Shimon Matir, he says, no. Once they fell off the sukkah, you can use them. Because even though at the beginning of Shabbat, You're not allowed to touch them because you're destroying the Yom Tov. You're destroying the hut. That's soter. But now that they fell themselves, no issue. Use them. It's Yom Tov. Enjoy. V'shavim b'sukat hachag b'chag shehi asura. And they agree. Rabbi Shimon agrees that the sukkah of Sukkot, not of Pesach and Shavuot, the sukkah of the mitzvah. That even if it falls off, that is asura unless you made it tanai, that you should be able to use it. Okay? Then you can use it. Now, why could you make it tanai? The truth is, the Gemara in Beitza says that that's not talking about. He's going back to the regular Sukkot of Pesach and Shavuot. Then you can make it huktzil mitzvato. But the one of Sukkot, it's huktzil mitzvato. That's an issue even according to Rabbi Shimon. So what do we see? Roim, we see from here that Rabbi Shimon has an issue with muktzah, even if it's just huktzil mitzvato. No other muktzah is involved, not a second muktzah. So the Gemara is asking that we said before it's only when it's two muktzahs, huktzil mitzvato and huktzil isuro. Here you see that even just huktzil. So the Gemara answers ke'ein shemen shebener karmin. The Gemara answers that when Rabbi Yochanan said something that is shemen shebener, he meant something similar to shemen shebener. Hoyel v'huktzil mitzvato huktzil isuro. He didn't mean it has both muktzahs. He meant since it's huktzah mitzvato, therefore it will be muktzah li'isuro as long as it is a base for a muktzah item. That's all it meant. It only meant one thing. You're right. As long as it's one muktzah mitzvato, that's already an issue. The Gemara is changing. Yochanan, he didn't mean both. He meant when it is huktzah mitzvato, it is huktzah at that time li'istiro. After there's no mitzvah anymore because the light goes out. Enjoy it. Okay? Now, we knew that before, that you could enjoy it afterwards. But we thought the reason why you couldn't enjoy it while it was lit, Rabbi Shimon said that beferish, is because it had both muktzahs. So we're going to say, no, not because it had both, because it had one. Even one. Huktzah mitzvato, that's enough of a reason. Okay. So now we know, that pushing away with your hands is not enough with the chitin, but if it's huktzah mitzvato, that is going to make it muktzah. It was also stated that Rabbi Chiya said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Ein muktzah l'Rabbi Shimon. There's no muktzeh for Rab Shimon, only like the case of a shemen in the ner at the time that it is lit. Hoil, since the huktzah lemitzvato, huktzah leisuro, since it is huktzah lemitzvato, therefore it will be muktzeh at the time that it is a Isur basis for the Isur. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel.
These are different options of what he thinks, or these are different kinds of muktzahs that all he holds on. Or are we still trying to figure out what does he really hold as muktzah?
And what's the other side? I'm not sure. I don't understand your question.
Meaning, we said that Rabbi Shimon holds specific different things that are muktzah, and he just mentioned it, or are we still trying to find out what he holds as muktzah? Or that's what he holds muktzah as anything that was muktzah mitzvato?
This is one muktzah that he holds of.
So now we're going to keep going.
We're going to keep going. There is another muktzah that we're going to say that he holds of. But meaning to say what we're saying now is like this. If something has a purpose on Shabbat, it's not muktzah, according to Rabbi Shimon, at all, only during the time that it's huktzah l'mitzvato. If something has a purpose. Now we're going to add other muktzahs that Rabbi Shimon agrees with. Okay? other muktzas. Let's find out what they are, and let's see why, even without being hooked to the mitzvah, we're going to mention muktzas that have no mitzvah at all. There's no mitzvah involved in them. Just an item that's muktzah. Omar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel ein muktzah Rabbi Shimon ela groi grois v'tzimukim. By the way, we pass like Rabbi Shimon. I just want everybody to know again. Say no, we go for muktzah. No, we don't go hold of muktzah. So but we have 20 muktzahs. Those are all the ones that Rabbi Shimon is going to kind of agree with. We don't really have so many muktzahs. That's the truth. Rabbi Yehuda has many more muktzahs. Okay, we'll see throughout the whole Shabbat. Be'ezrat Hashem. There's a whole. Okay, so I'm going to Rabbi muktzah Rabbi Shimon el groiges v'tzimukim bilvat. The only muktzah of food that Rabbi Shimon has an issue with are figs, and tzimukim are raisins. Basically, in those days, they would place these things on the roof so that they dry out. Okay? Now, okay, so now let's go back for a second to compare this case with the oil. The oil, a person knows this oil is going out in 2 hours. I can't wait to use it then. I'll use the oil for whatever I want. I mean, you can't light anything else on Shabbat, but maybe I'll use the oil for who knows what, for my salad. The olive oil was beautiful olive oil. It wasn't consumed by the fire. And maybe I could use it. Fine. So therefore, I'm waiting for it. Okay? So, but over here, this is different. Why? Because here, a person doesn't know. What happens is, once they started drying, they got into that stage. They weren't fresh grapes that you can eat, and they weren't raisins. They were in this interim stage, which was not ra'ui la'achila. Okay? It was a kind of a stage that people would not eat that food then. So now, when is it going to be ready, sir? Nobody knows. You're not sure. So therefore, since I went ahead and I placed them on the roof before Shabbat, okay? So I pushed them away with my hands. Now we said before that's not enough for Reb Shimon. With the wheat and the egg, the wheat kernels, it's not enough. But at the time of Bein Hashmashot, it already was dry enough, but not dry enough. It was drying, and it wasn't Re'u La'achila. And I didn't have anything in my mind about me eating these on Shabbat because I had no idea when they would be ready. That is set aside in my mind, that I put it away. So you have to have these things. You push it over with your hands, you put it up there on the roof, and you don't think at all that you'll have a chance to eat these. And they were not ready on Shabbat when Shabbat began. That's muktzah. That type of food is muktzah. So the Gemara says, "Umid achrin aloi." Okay, so you're telling me that that's the only case, those type of cases, because they become so inedible, that your mamish, you set them on to the side, and you don't have that, and that's muktzah. So the Gemara says, "V'atanya hoya uicha b'teinu v'hotir ve'elan legag lasot mehem grogrot." The guy was eating figs. He had some leftovers. He brought them up onto his roof to make dried figs. Ba'anavim, same thing with grapes ve'hotir ve'elan legag lasot mehem tzimukim, to make raisins. Lo yochal, do not eat them on Shabbat ad sheyazmin, until he showed clearly before Shabbat that he wants to eat them on Shabbat. Okay? And that means if they were a tiny drop ready, even though normally they wouldn't really be eaten, but if I said, that's enough for me, that's fine. Okay? But listen to this. Here's the problem. V'chein ata omer be'afas takim v'chabushin v'shar kol minei perot. Same thing with apricots, chabushin, might be lemons, I'm not sure what they are. All sorts of other perot, even though they don't really get so ruined in that interim stage. But since I set them aside from eating, and I put them up there to be dried, I'm makzi midaiti. Set them aside. So the Gemara says, who is this Breita like? So you're going to say, it's not Reb Shimon. Because Reb Shimon holds only these two things that become so inedible. But the Gemara says, Mani ilay Rabbi Yehuda umahir deloy dachi b'yadayim itlay muktzeh hechid dachi b'yadayim lekoshkin. Why would it have to say this halacha? It's a kal v'chomer. We know that even if you don't push something away with your hands, okay, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't have to push something away and makes it muktzeh. As long as you didn't make it not muktzeh, you didn't make it mukhan, it's already muktzeh, automatically. So of course, if you push it away, why would you have to say this Breita if it was Rabbi Yehuda? El alav must be it's Rabbi Shimoni. It must be that this Breita is going according to Rabbi Shimon, and it's telling you that even other fruits that could eat them a little bit, but since I was deicha b'yodayim, that's enough. So it's not just grogers and tzimukim. So the Gemara says lo ilam Rabbi Yehuda. No. Really, Rabbi Shimon only holds grogos and tzimukim. So what about this Breita? This Breita is Rabbi Yehuda. But didn't we just ask that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you don't have to write this halacha? It's kal v'chomer, even if you don't push them away with your hands. So the Gemara says, excuse me. Yeah, thank you so much. So the Gemara says, "Le'olam Rabbi Yehuda va'ochel tzrich alei." Sakadei lechamilei kivin de'ochel v'yozil le'libo yiyazmono. Thank you so much. So the Gemara says now, it's going according to Rabbi Yehuda, but it's still teaching you a chidush, because we're talking about a case where you were eating them before you brought them to the gag. So you would have thought, I would have thought, you would think, look, the guy, he was eating from them before he brought them to the roof. So he doesn't have to say clearly, I'm being mazbin them that if they stay a little bit edible on Shabbat, for me that's enough. Of course, that's automatic, because he was eating from these. No. The Chiddush is, even according to Yehuda, that's enough of a separation you had with them. You separated from them. And unless you say clearly that you want to still eat them in that state, that semi-edible state, it's good enough for you, it's muktzah. So now the Gemara has a shayla according to Rabbi Shimon in muktzah. Boy minei Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi mi Rabbi. This is a different Rabbi Shimon. This is Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi. Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi Yehuda. He asked Rabbi about Rabbi Shimon's shita. Okay? What did he ask him? What time is it now?
It's 8:04,
8:03, great. Hello. So he said, Patzile tomorrow. So you have these dates that are not 100% ripe, and the way they ripen them, they would put them in these baskets, and then they would ripen themselves. They would get like warmer and hotter, the way we do it today. Put them into the paper bag. So that's what they would do then. So the Reb Shimon Mao, according to Reb Shimon, what is the halacha? Are you allowed to eat them before they became ripe? Or maybe he would agree that they're muktzeh. Now, Reb Shimon Rebbe is asking like this: these are very hard to eat before they become ripe. So maybe they have a halacha like grogers with tzimukim. And Omalei, it tells him, no. Grogers with tzimukim is grogers with tzimukim. They have two reasons again. Let's go through the reasons again. You need both reasons by food. You have to push it away with your hands because you brought it to the roof, and they're not edible by ben hashmashot. And you don't have no idea when they're going to become edible again, so they're gone from your mind. You're maktzeh them. But these tamarim, you didn't push them away with your hands. They were not ripe yet. They were, right? You didn't like go and say, I'm being maktzeh you. Go, I'm not going to have anything to do with you. I'm putting you up on my roof. No. They just weren't ready yet. So, not only that, they're kind of a drop edible even before they're ripe. Not delicious, they're not great, but you could eat them. And therefore, they're very different than Groigerot Vitzimukim, and according to Rabbi Shimon, they're not muktzeh. So the Gemara says, V'Rabbi let le muktzeh. So now, what's this whole conversation over here between Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi, to Rabbi, about Rabbi Shimon's muktzeh? And Rabbi tells him, no, it's not muktzeh, only grows with tzimukim. It sounds like Rabbi's in the world of Rabbi Shimon. He's telling him, no. He's telling him halachas over here. So he's going with Rabbi Shimon. So Rabbi doesn't hold the Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi goes with Rabbi Shimon. He doesn't hold the Rabbi Huda. So the Gemara says, 1 second. So Rabbi doesn't hold the muktzeh? He's in the Rabbi Shimon camp? He doesn't hold the Rabbi Huda's muktzeh? Ve'otnan. It's a Mishnah in masechet Beitza. We know that animals may be slaughtered on Yom Tov because ochel nefesh is mutar on Yom Tov. So you're allowed to eat the animals, you could slaughter them. So they're not muktzeh animals, right? Normally, animals are muktzeh. So it tells like this, a mashkin v'shochtin hamidbariyot. You're not allowed to give to drink and to slaughter the behemot which live in the desert. Okay? Aval mashkin v'shochtin et habaitot. But the homey ones, the home ranch animals, those are not muktzeh. Why? Because before Yom Tov, I know that I'm going to be able to use those. The other ones are out in the fields, in the midbar, they go out for pasture. Betanya. Now, what exactly constitutes, how far do they have to be called midbariyot, and they're muktzeh, because they're off my mind. So it says, Elohim midbariyot kol sheyotzot ba'pesach v'nichnasot b'reviyah. If they go out in the Pesach season, in the spring, and they stay in the pasture, they pasture there, and then they come back at the beginning of the rainy season in Mar Cheshvan. Okay? Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei. 6 months they're out there, they don't need anything. They lie down, they eat. Okay? Social distancing. 6 months. They're gone. So they're midbariyot. Okay? So they're muktzeh, you're not allowed to give them to drink. They used to give them to drink before they slaughter them so that their skin. Okay? They got them very full of water. Okay. Anyways, the Gemara says, Baitot kol sheyotzot v'ra'ot chutz hatchum, ba'ot v'lanot b'toch hatchum. Those that go out every day out of the tchum, out of like the 2,000 amma, then they come back at night into the tchum. Rabbi Omer, those I have in mind, because those I know I'm going to have. Rabbi Omer, elu ve'elu baitot. Rabbi says, no, they're both baitot. Ve'elu hen midbariyot, but you want to know what a midbariyot is? Kol shere'ot ba'afar ve'en nichnasot yeshuv lo b'matchav ve'lo b'matchav Hashem. Only the ones that are never come back in. Not in Cheshvan they come back. The ones that come back for Cheshvan, those I still have in mind. Maybe he'll pop in. Maybe he'll come in for a visit. The ones that never come back, my mind is off. Now, the fact that Rabbi is giving his criteria of exactly when it's called midbariyot means that he agrees with this muktzah of midbariyot. He's just saying, he's giving it a broader, a little more of a liberal sense of when you could do it. But he also, there is one, according to Rabbi Shimon, it's not muktzah at all. It doesn't matter that I didn't have my mind on it before Shabbat. Since it's right now, it's here, before Yom Tov, I could slaughter it. It's right to eat. Slaughter it. So you see that Rabbi doesn't go with Rabbi Shimon. He holds a muktzah of Rabbi Yehuda. So why is he busy telling his son about the halachis of it's only gregors v'tzimukim and not those patzile tomorrow? So the Gemara says, either you could say, no, he goes like Rabbi Shimon, but even Rabbi Shimon holds with that muktzah of the animals that never come back. Know why? Because who made them go to live over there? The owner. So he was doicha b'yadayim. And you say, wait, but he needs two things, doicha b'yadayim, and they can't be roi l'achila, and I don't know if I'm going to have roi l'achila. So the answer is, even though I could go and get them, but since it's a very great tircha, it's as if they're like not roi l'achila. When Yom Tov comes, they're like gone from me. I'm not going to have them. So that's what I think about my animals. I don't think about them. I'm not going to have them. Even though technically I could go and bring them back. Okay? But it's like Gregors Vitzimukim. Or, so really Rabbi goes like Rabbi Shimon. Or you could say, L'dvar of the Rabbi Shimon ka'amalei. Okay? Or I could say that Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi doesn't hold like Rabbi Shimon. You're right. Midbariyot doesn't work like Rabbi Shimon. And he was just saying, he was answering his son according to Rabbi Shimon. But he doesn't hold like him. Or, in this case of the midbariyot, he really didn't agree that there's midbariyot at all, because he went like Rabbi Shimon, that there's no problem. He was just saying, according to you, that you go like Rabbi Yehuda, you should know you're making a mistake. Even in Rabbi Yehuda's world, those are not midbariyot, these are midbariyot. I don't hold of midbariyot at all, I don't hold there's a problem at all. And he said like this, according to me, I don't have a muktzah issue at all. But that you hold of muktzah, you should at least admit to me that if they come in once in a while, only the ones that don't come back at all. As long as they're out for 6 months, that's also called midbariyot. Fine. Rabbi Yochanan said, Amru, they said in the yeshiva, and seemingly Rabbi Yochanan is agreeing with what they said in the yeshiva because he's quoting it. The halacha is like Rabbi Shimon in muktzah. So the Gemara says, there was this old man from Kiruya, and some say from Stiruya, that asked Rabbi Yochanan, Kina, a little chicken nest, like a chicken coop, Shotan Golet, Ma'al Vitel Tule, Shabbat. Now, it's like a bed that's designated for muktzah. But there's no chickens in there. That's what the Gemara assumed, that there was no chickens in there. But it's designated for muktzah. Are you allowed to move it on Shabbat? Rabbi Yochanan told him, Klum osu yelil tarna goylin. The only purpose it has is for muktzah items. Okay? So, therefore, since it's designated for a muktzah item, it's muktzah itself. So now, so you see, that's according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds, like we had before with Rav and the bed, and Rav went like Rabbi Yehuda. If you have a bed that's miyuchid to be a basis for ma'is, even though it's not now a basis for it at all, it's muktzah. That's what, so this is all according to Rabbi Yehuda. So you see that Rabbi Yochanan himself is going like Rabbi Yehuda. So why is Rabbi Yochanan quoting the halacha from the Bnei Yeshiva that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon? So the Gemara says, we're speaking about that there is a dead chicken in there. Now, even according to Rabbi Shimon, a dead little chick is muktzah. And therefore, it becomes a basis to a davar ha'asur. And that's what Rabbi Yochanan was saying. So he's saying like this, that... So what was the question then? The question of this old man was that, the question was, does it become a basis to a davar ha'asur to this dead little chick? The nest. Why yes, why not? Well, you would say, why not? The beginning of onset of Shabbat. So Now, really what happened over here is very important. Rashi here. Rashi says, every Rashi is very important. Rashi says that it died on Shabbat. If it died before Shabbat, at this point, the Gemara holds that since you could feed a dead chick to the dogs, we're going to see Rabbi Shimon's shita is it's not muktzah. So it never became a basis to davar ha'asr. It's a basis to a davar ha'mutter. You have good dog food. What happened was, when Shabbat started, this is not dog food, because it's not dead. Okay? Now it dies on Shabbat, then it's muktzah even according to Rabbi Shimon, because it wasn't made as dog food before Shabbat. So now at this moment, the question of the Sahus Saba was, does it become a basis? Now why wouldn't it become a basis? Because the person doesn't want it to be a basis. He didn't put it there midat. So Rabbi Yochanan answered him, isn't it made for chickens? You know that chickens, many times, you find little dead ones in there. So it's as if you knew about it. And therefore, it is a basis to a davar ha'asr. Okay? So now, the Gemara says, this only works. So you're trying to make Rabbi Yochanan work with Rabbi Shimon, right? What are you saying? Rabbi Yochanan is Rabbi Shimon, man. That's why he quoted the Bnei Yeshiva saying that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon. He said that this is a basis to the davar ha'asr. We're going to make the davar ha'asr, even according to Rabbi Shimon, he's going to admit that an efroach met, that it died on Shabbat, is muktzah. And therefore the nest becomes muktzah, a basis to the davar ha'asr. That's why it's muktzah. That's only if you go like Mar Bar Meimer in the name of Rava that said that Rabbi Shimon was moide bevalichaim shemeisu she'asurin. Rabbi Shimon was moide on healthy animals that died on Shabbat that are asur. They become asur. Now, we know that Rabbi Shimon, later on in the Mishnah, says that if an animal died on Shabbat, you're allowed to chop up the animal and feed it to the dogs. But Rabbi Chia Bar Meimah Mishmei de Rava is saying that Rabbi Shimon is only saying that when the animal was going to die. It was a sick animal. So therefore he knew that he's going to have food for dogs on Shabbat. Okay? But Balei Chayim means healthy animals. He had no inkling that would happen. So Rabbi Shimon is molded that if it dies on Shabbat, you're not allowed to feed it to the dogs because you never thought it would be dog fodder, dog food on Shabbat. So therefore, it's a beautiful answer that we said that this little chick died on Shabbat. It was a healthy chick. I never had in mind that now it is still considered that I put it there because I knew that it could happen. But I wasn't really imagining this chick would die. So therefore the chick is muktzah, but it's considered like I placed it there knowingly. It's not like you can't say, oh wow, I'm shocked. No, when you put them in before Shabbat, you know this may happen, okay? So therefore it's a basis l'davar aser. But according to Mar, the son of Rav Yosef in the name of Rav, that the Omar, okay? But according to Mar Yosef, Rabbi Shimon is matir, even with healthy animals that died on Shabbat. Okay? And you say, 1 second, if it died on Shabbat, so now, if Shimon is going to be matir, why is it mutter? Before Shabbat, it was ready for consumption of human beings. It wasn't made for dogs. So the first shita holds that if something is ready for human consumption, we don't consider that dog food at all. So if in the middle of Shabbat it changes status and it goes from human consumption to animal consumption, you say it's muktzah. That's the first opinion. The second opinion says, even things that are made for human consumption, they're also made for animal consumption. So as long as it was ready before Shabbat to be slaughtered and be eaten by a human, so before Shabbat it was also ready for the dogs. Also ready for the dogs. Yeah? And therefore it's not muktzah even when it dies on Shabbat, and I'm allowed to use it for my animals. Ma'ikal and meimar. So even a dead chick on Shabbat, according to Rabbi Shimon, is not muktzeh. So what is Rabbi Yochanan's answer? That the chicken coop is made for chickens and he knows it's going to die. He's not surprised. So it's a basis l'davar aser. What do you mean it's a basis l'davar aser? According to Marberei Rav Yosef Mishmei de Rava, the shita of Rabbi Shimon does not exclude healthy animals that die on Shabbat. You could still feed them. They're not muktzeh. So what's Rabbi Yochanan's answer? If he goes like Rabbi Shimon. So the Gemara answers, Hacha b'may askina b'd ist be'beitza. We're talking about that this chicken coop has an egg that was laid today. And that's nolad. Nolad is a different ball game. Nolad, Rabbi Shimon holds of this muktzah of nolad. Okay? Because you never knew about it before. It didn't exist. So now that it exists, Rabbi Shimon is modeh. Says the Gemara of Amar Rav Nachman, Man de itlei muktzah itlei nolad, letlei muktzah letlei nolad. Didn't Rav Nachman teach us that if you hold of muktzah, you hold of nolad? If you don't hold of muktzah like Rabbi Shimon, you don't hold of nolad. So don't tell me that nolad is worse. Now there are those who argue to Rav Nachman. The Gemara could have answered that, but the Gemara says no. The Gemara wants to answer a different thing. The itpei beitzat efroach. This is even worse than nolad. It has an egg that has a chick inside it. Not an egg that you're going to eat. Okay? An egg that has a chick. An egg that has a chick is the worst. Why? Because it's not fit for what? For human consumption. And it's not fit for animal because it has the peel on it. Okay? So therefore, it's mamish like a nevela, and therefore that is real muktzah, and it's a basel l'davar aser. So now everything is good. Rabbi Yochanan holds of who? Of Rabbi Shimon. Now the Gemara wants to challenge that. Just go a few more lines. Says the Gemara, Ki ata Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yosef, Om Rabbi Yochanan halacha Rabbi Yehuda. When Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yosef came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, halacha Rabbi Yehuda. Not like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Om halacha Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said it's like Rabbi Shimon. Om Rabbi Yosef. Hainu da Om Rabbi Chana, Om Rabbi Yochanan, Omru halacha Rabbi Shimon. Omru, v'lei lo yisraeli. That's what he meant when he said Amru. He meant in the yeshiva they say it's like Rabbi Shimon, but I don't hold like that. Rabbi Yochanan himself doesn't hold like that. He holds of muktzah like Rabbi Yehuda. Now, if he holds of muktzah like Rabbi Yehuda, Rabotai, then the answer that he told the Saba is very understandable. You don't have to get all these cases of beitzat tefroch. He goes like Rabbi Yehuda. It's made for chickens. Chickens are muktzah, according to Rabbi Yehuda. So therefore, it's a basis. Done. It's a mita hamiyuchedes l'moyis. I designated it for something that's muktzah. It's already a problem. The item is a problem. You didn't hold until now that Rabbi Yochanan went like Rabbi Yehuda? How did you not know that till now? Rabbi Abba and Rabbi Asi visited the house of Rabbi Abba of Min Chaifa on Shabbat. And on the cloak of Rabbi Asi fell a lamp. And he didn't want to move it off because it's muktzah. Okay? What did he do? He took the jacket and he moved the jacket so that the lamp should fall off. Okay? He moved the jacket. He moved the jacket so that the lamp should, like tiltil min atzad. But he didn't actually move the menorah because he held that is Isser Muktzah. Rabbi Asi was a Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yehuda Svirle the Itle Muktzah. That's why the menorah is Muktzah even after it went out. According to Rabbi Shimon, a menorah is not Muktzah anymore once it goes out. So, even before Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi Yosef came, you should have understood. Meaning, Rabbi Yosef said, after Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef came from Eretz Yisrael, and he said, you know, Rabbi Shimon Levi goes like Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yochanan goes like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef says, Hainu de Omar. That's what he meant. He said Omru in Yeshiva, but he doesn't hold. Now I realize. I never realized. I thought Rabbi Yochanan went like Rabbi Shimon. Now I understand. He meant they go like Rabbi Shimon, but not him. So Abaye told Rabbi Yosef, oh, Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, you didn't know this before Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yosef came? What about the story with the Rabbi Asi? That Rabbi Asi is the Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. And he didn't want to move the menorah. According to, if Rabbi Yochanan went like Rabbi Shimon, he should have moved the menorah. So you should have known that he held like Rabbi Yehuda. You're bringing a proof from the menorah story. Minarta Shani, I would never have known from that story that he goes like Rabbi Yehuda. Because the menorah is different. The Omer Rabbi Achanina, Omer Rabbi Asi. He said in the name of Rabbi Asi, Resh Lakish ruled in Sida in menorah, a light candelabra, and he tell it biyadei achas, you're able to move with one hand. Mutter l'tatel is not even muktzeh. B'shtei yadav asal l'tatel. But if it's very heavy, we'll see soon why. It has nothing to do with the halachas of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon in muktzeh. It's an issue of light or heavy. We'll see in a second. That's going to be aser. Rabbi Yochanan Omar Anu Ein Lanu El Bener Ki Rabbi Shimon Ava Menorah Beini tells biyadei achas Beini tells b'shtei yadav asal taltala. We only hold of Rabbi Shimon, which doesn't have a problem of muktzeh machmat mius, that the candelabra became ugly. We have no issue. Ava menorah, but a menorah that's moved. Biyadei achas bein nitels b'shtei yadav asal taltala. Whether it's one hand or two hands, it's also to be moved. So you see here that Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan both hold that a heavy menorah is also to be moved. So, now, what the reason for a heavy menorah to be moved is a good shaila. We'll see in a second why. But we see one thing clearly, that the reason why Rabbi Asi didn't want to move the menorah off his jacket had nothing to do with Rabbi Yehuda's shita in muktzah. It had to do with the issue that it's a heavy item and Rabbi Yochanan doesn't want you to move heavy items. So therefore I could have thought that Rabbi Yochanan actually held like Rabbi Shimon until I heard that Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef came from Eretz Yisrael and let me know that Rabbi Yochanan actually went like Rabbi Yehuda. The time of Mayim, why you're not allowed to move a heavy thing? Since a person designates a specific place for it, since it's such a heavy item, so that's a new type of muktzah that even if I would have thought that Rabbi Yochanan went like Rabbi Shimon, before I found out he went like Rabbi Yehuda, I would have understood that that's a new type of muktzah. It's a new muktzah. We're going to speak about it more tomorrow, and to get into this sugya called Hoyl v'Koiv Adam Kovei Ala Makom. Since a person designates its spot and he never thinks he's moving it because it's so heavy, therefore that's also muktzah, and that's the issue there. B'ezrat Hashem, we'll see this inyan more tomorrow. Chazak Baruch, have a great day, healthy day.